Hey, trying with first to pitch. Are we overcomplicating everything? The seller versus the buyer relationship? I think we are. Let's talk about it. So, in the last few weeks, especially when I started this new company, I've been looking at LinkedIn posts, I've been following a lot of salespeople, procurement people, and I just came off writing 2 articles. And the light bulb kind of just clicked in my head. What I see a lot is on both sides, we're starting to overcomplicate the process. It's really not that hard. At the end of the day, we're an industry of people. And I think what happened was because traditionally buyers kept their cards so close to them, very tight-lipped, didn't give a lot of information. Sellers had to find a way to navigate that path. They used PowerPoints, they used pitches, they later started to rely on psychology, things to drive the conversation and to hopefully get the buyer to give them some breadcrumbs so that they can go down. And I get it, it's hard, but at the end of the day, first of all, buyers don't need to be that complicated to deal with. We need to open up a path where people can understand what we need and give their best shot. And that way you can figure out who's the best supplier that fits you. And it's not a mind game. They're not shooting in the dark. And that's what we need to get down to. And that's the buyer sell. And that's the whole point of first to pitch is let's simplify the process. Let the buyer open up the door, open up the window, let the seller know and see what he wants, what he or she's looking for, or the company's looking for. And then from there, sell on the elements of total cost of ownership. Buyers need to get away from the transactional aspects. And I'm not talking about commodity type applications, but we need to take a step back and we have a fiduciary responsibility to our company as a buyer. Looking at just price at the surface, you're not doing your job, to put it bluntly. You need to look at the total cost of ownership, and we've talked about a lot. There's elements depending on what you're buying, and those elements, some of those elements are going to be greater or have more value than the price itself. So don't get stuck in that rabbit hole. Look at the elements that make up total cost of ownership. Force your salespeople to sell on those elements, and then in return, you're going to use those elements to then sell up to leadership, so then they buy in the program. And it's just that easy. All these acronyms and tactics and schemes and everything, they don't need to be there. It's a very easy process. It comes down to clarity and communication. And from there, everything else will kind of play itself out. On what route you should take, the numbers will tell you. When you start looking at total cost of ownership, the numbers are going to tell you what route you should take. The other thing that's important, and to me is the biggest hurdle for sales specifically, is the relationship value. Is what I call, other people, psychologists call it this, but what I relabeled as trusted authority. That's the hard part, is that perception of the buyer, the perception of the buyer of how he perceives the seller. That's the hard part for sales. In my past experience, the seller that not necessarily agreed with me more, but that I trusted more, or that challenged me in a way that I didn't think was a pitch, was more than likely going to get that sell. He knew how to get information out. He knew how to say stuff. He knew the right questions to ask. And those are the people that make the sale, that close the sale. And it's really just that easy. It's being authentic from both standpoints. It's being clear, again, being a little bit redundant here, being genuine, setting the expectations, setting the tone, knowing who you're talking to, your audience, both sides. I'm talking about both sides here. So at the end of the day, let's get back to the basics. Let's get back to simplicity and stop trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm trying to go back to the wheel that I know works and move it forward. Bring it in the 21st century, basically. And that's it. That's the whole premise of First to Pitch. You know, the only caveat is now the buyer's basically making the pitch to the salesperson. They're opening that window up. They're opening up that door so the salesperson has something to be able to react to. Before the buyer was a reactor, now the seller is a reactor. That's the only difference. Everything else is staying the same. That's my pitch today. Hope you guys have a nice day. Continue to follow us here at First to Pitch,